If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to episode 418 of Picks and Ponies on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Pete Visco. For anyone who is looking for Howard, who normally hosts our show on Thursdays, he is off gallivanting in Saratoga like he's known to do. Our other co-host, Paul, is in all over the world, hanging out with the Dormans somewhere up in the Northeast. So you get me hosting today, and we're going to have a special co-host from one of our other shows. I won't spoil that just yet, but before we get into that, tonight, what we're going to talk about, we're going to be going over the Saturday late pick 5 at Saratoga. As everyone knows, probably who's watching this show, the Saratoga Summer Meet kicked off today. So we are going to hit the Saturday card, which is excellent. A couple graded stakes, some good fields, some really good horses coming back. So we'll get to that in a second. Let me hit through a couple of the administrative items real quick. On the bottom, as you could always see scrolling by, our YouTube channel. Do it, subscribe, hit the subscribe button. I forget where it is, somewhere around here. Subscribe, rate, review, hit the notification bell so you know when we have shows popping up. As I'll talk about in a minute, we have some additional shows coming this weekend that are new, not new to the podcast, but new for this season. So I'll talk about that in a second. So definitely, like I said, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and hit that like button. When you hit the like button, it tells YouTube that we're a podcast you like, and we'll be in the algorithm and everyone will see us, and that'll be fantastic. Podcast listeners, audio listeners, wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Outcast, which is the one that I use. Definitely listen if you can't watch our show live. To follow the HHH Racing Podcast, our official Howard's handle and our official show handle at HHH Racing Pod. Again, at HHH Racing Pod. Please give us a follow. Power picks. There's a few power picks things to talk about, but our standard power pick tip sheet, that's the one every Saturday. We talk about it all the time on our shows. Generally, every Saturday, you get 2 to 3 tracks, good ROI. You get ABC grids, you get spot plays, price plays, and we have a new little thing. See that QR code? I guess it's this way if I'm pointing on my screen, but our QR code there, if you hold your phone, hit your camera, go on that, it'll take you right to Patreon. All the information is below the video player as well. But if you look at that QR code, you scan it, it'll take you right to Patreon, and you can get to our power picks and subscribe from there. And what I'll get to in a second, our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. If you have questions about the power picks, there's all the answers are there for you, examples and everything. We post them constantly so you could see the past 15 power picks so you'll get a feel for what's going on. Also, from a power pick standpoint, we have, starting this weekend, new Saratoga and Del Mar only power picks available. And we have a Saratoga Del Mar combo power pick available. So as you can see, the deadline for Saratoga, July 17th, the deadline for Del Mar, July 24th. Again, if you go to our website, hhhracingpodcast.com, go to the power pick section, you'll see one for Saratoga, you'll see a page for Del Mar, and you'll see a page for the combo. Please check it out, subscribe. Even though Saratoga started today, you could still subscribe up until next Thursday, I think the 17th. Yes, next Thursday for that one. And if you want to subscribe to the combo, you also, I think, have to subscribe by the 17th. So do that. Check it out as soon as possible. If you miss this weekend, that's okay. We're not prorating, but you could still subscribe and you could still get the power picks even if you miss opening weekend. One other thing I was talking about before I bring my co-host on, one other podcast we have starting back up this weekend, Saratoga Today. It's a live podcast every Saturday and Sunday during the summer meet. We did this last year. We've done this for multiple years. We've done it for multiple tracks, 10:45 a.m. Eastern. Again, we're starting this Saturday and Sunday, and that'll cover So like Saturday, since we're covering the late pick 5 tonight, Saturday we'll cover the early pick 5 on Saturday. And on Sunday, join myself and Chris Walsh will be on with me. We're going to be covering the late pick 5 on Sunday. So definitely check that out. One more podcast note, Weekend Warriors, which kicked off last week. Another live podcast we're doing on Saturdays, maybe Sundays sometimes. And on that one, the specialty is we have the ability to show races from Monmouth and Woodbine. So we'll be able to show live races, preview, handicap, and then discuss live races that we show on screen from Woodbine and Monmouth. And also we'll be covering other tracks like Saratoga, where we can't show the video, but we can have the audio on and then still discuss and handicap the races. So definitely check that out. And then my last note, Adelphi Racing Club. They've been a sponsor for a while. They've been a partner. Some of our co-hosts have horses or pieces of horses through them. They're awesome to deal with. They're great people. You could see the racing manager, Matt Couture. If you want to get any information, just email him. You could see it right there, matt@adelphiracing.com, or check out their website. They're fantastic partners of this show, and they're fantastic people to work with. So definitely check it out if you want to get into the ownership game, and if you want to just get a little piece of a horse, it's a great place to start. Now, with all that babbling done, let me bring on my co-host, who also has a ton of stuff. So he is the co-host of Pacific Horse Players. He is the host on his own channel of The Gallop Out. He works for America's Best Racing on his other show that I'm completely blanking on the name on. I put it somewhere, but I can't remember. Oh, I got it. The Saturday Show, which is another live show where they cover racing. So I'm going to bring him on and he could talk about it. My man, Rian Anderson. What's up, my friend? How's it going?
What's going on? Yeah, just trying to stay cool. It's like 100 degrees in this room that I'm filming in, but
excellent.
No, I'm excited to join you for Sunday's Saratoga live preview. I saw Katie's comment in the chat. We are having a Weekend Warriors this Saturday. Jackson and I did host the Saturday show for ABR, and that will return in the fall without a doubt. But for the summer, I'm all about HHH. So we're going to be doing the Weekend Warriors shows, which I'm looking forward to. If Howard's watching, whoever got those Woodbine and Monmouth live streaming rights, that guy deserves a raise. I wonder who he could be. Just kidding. But
he doesn't need any more cash. The cash should come to us, not him.
Exactly.
He has enough cash. We're all right.
No, I know. I'm only joking. But no, I'm excited to join you. Talk some Saratoga. Opening day today was a lot of fun. And I saw a couple of comments about the track profile as well. About 20 minutes after races ended, it started hailing and raining. So the track may not play the same tomorrow. So it's going to be fun to play that little guessing game again. I think it stopped raining maybe. But either way, I'm excited to dive into Saturday's sequence.
Yeah, and we hate weather on this show unless Howard's here. So, if it rains, keep an eye out, everybody. You know that. We're gonna handicap and talk tonight as if everything will be fast track on the turf on Saturday. We're gonna handicap that way. If anything changes, obviously keep an eye out, which I know everyone on here will do. Let's go real quick. We'll give a couple of shout outs to see who's in the chat. Jeff Amster, hey Katie, let's get another win. Yeah. Katie there, heck yes, Pete. I know Katie loves when it's a Pete show. We can get a little loose and get a little wild.
Mm-hmm.
We got Matt Miller, our buddy there, hanging in. John Kinzierski, whose name I would probably butcher, but I apologize for that. We got Sylvain from up across the border in the north. We got Tom Espinoza. Oh, hey everybody!
Feel better, Tom.
From surgery, pain meds. Not sure if I can last the entire show. That's all right, Tom. Just keep popping them. Get a little high with us. You'll be okay. But, yes, definitely recover. Take care of yourself. We need you back at full strength to join us, to be able to last the whole show. Ton of other people here. Jim Pilars. Everybody keep coming into the chat. We'll pop up comments like we're known to do. So, Ryan, let's get into the races. We got a pretty cool sequence, I think. It's one of those where you get a feel where it could be chalky, but I think the way you and I handicapped it, hopefully it is not. Do you agree with that? What'd you think when you looked at it?
Did. This was one of the most difficult sequences for sure of the calendar year so far. I mean, yes, it could always end up chalky. We have a couple heavy favorites that we're going to touch on in the two main stakes races. I feel like both of them are vulnerable. I think you agree with me, and we may even share a couple of the same opinions. So I'm leaning towards not chalky on this one. I'm hoping we get some prices. I'm hoping we see some upsets, and I'm hoping the name of Saratoga being the graveyard of favorites rings true on Saturday.
That's what we need, right? Well, let's get into it. Let me bring up our Equibase here. We'll hit the first race of the day, as everybody can see on the screen. The first one, race 8, we're starting it off strong with the grade 2 Bowling Green going 1 1/8 on the inner turf. We have 8 in the main body. We have 3 actual OSO eligibles. So not, I don't think they're MTOs. I think they're truly OSO eligible. So I think that would say that here. And like you talked about, here's one of the big favorites, 6-5 Farbridge. Let's see where we're going. Look at us. We're both going against Farbridge, and we're both going with the 2 horse. So I have 2-7-5 and Rian has 2-7-6. Let's get into it and see. Oh, for some reason I was looking at Ryan, I was looking at Web Slinger just to take us off track for a second. I was looking at Web Slinger because he's a favorite of mine. My son loves Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. And I was looking back because Web Slinger cost me a huge Derby Day pick 5 when Mage won. I had Web Slinger as a B. I had the A's and B's reversed, and I needed Farbridge to win. And if Farbridge wins, I would have hit the pick 5, but instead it screwed me. I had Mage as a B instead of an A. So I was reliving that earlier, which is why I had that on the screen.
Fun, right?
Yeah, it's always good to just reminisce about crap from like 3 years ago. But all right, so you and I are going with the 2, El Razine at 8-1, Pletcher, Dylan Davis. Tell us why you like this one, and I'll see if I agree and we're on the same page.
Yeah, this one clearly the goal is to stretch this one out to these marathon distances again, just like he did last year during his 3-year-old season. The mile and a 16th comeback race at Keeneland did not disappoint. That was a very live race. There have been multiple next out winners, including the winner who repeated in Hershey. You notice the time form figures, which I think are a little bit inaccurate if you actually go to the time form page, but either way, they were sky high for what that race is, and the race has come back to back up quite a lot. You see the 3rd place finisher was Intellect. Intellect just got beat last week out in Saratoga during their July 4th racing festival by Think Big when he stretched out around 2 turns for the first time. But Intellect lost nothing in defeat there, certainly backed up that form. I think this stretch out makes all the sense. Obviously, one look at the breeding, English Channel by Kitten's Joy mare. You can tell that this one can run all day. Dylan Davis had a nice win on the card today with Ozara, trained by Miguel Clement. With a fantastic ride. I see something very similar happening here. Should be able to get the rail. I don't know where starting over is going to be. In some of those marathons, he's been forward. He's also kind of come from off of it. But either way, I think Dylan Davis is going to be able to find the rail early, stick there. And we saw the track play very, very fair today. So I'm going to go ahead and take, if anything more than fair, it maybe even played a little bit to those horses coming from off the pace. So I'll take El Razine to spring an upset to start us off here. And I know
I'm with you. Yeah, I do. And I think Ozara actually got the trip that Ozara got today. I don't think is going to be too much different maybe than the trip that El Razine could maybe get here, sort of a stalking trip, maybe mid-pack, somewhere along there. But I do agree that I think the longer distance. So as you said, we get Dylan Davis, who's 2 for 2 on the horse. And both of those were at sort of the longer distance. So I like that. Yeah. And the 133. So this is obviously the pace figure here, but I think I put in my notes here, it was a 124. So even though it was a 90 on the buyer scale, which again, we talk about this on the show a lot, where sometimes the buyer might be low and it's nice to get both. I don't think one is, neither is gospel, but it's nice to look at both, get the comparison. I think that 124 shows that I'm a big sucker for the 3 to 4 move. It's like the 2 to 3 year old move, the 3 to 4 move. And if you could come back and you come back pretty strong, and again, he lost by 3, but he lost to Hershey, who's in fantastic form. And like you said, beating Intellect, I just feel like you might be getting a horse, and I say this a lot, you might be getting a horse that we don't know is really good yet, and maybe shows it here, and then you're never getting the 8-1 morning line again. And so I think this might be when you want to catch him.
And on top of that, check out that record at Saratoga. I mean, both going the marathon distance as well. I mean, this horse loves it here. This horse is going to sit a good trip. Both of those wins coming under Dylan Davis. I mean, yeah, I'm with you. I project the exact same trip that Ozara sat today, which is really kind of just the staple Dylan Davis turf route. Move is just get to the rail and hope that you find room and have the horse turning for home. And I love it. That's what gave him so much success last year. He didn't try and get cute. He just kind of stuck with saving ground and tipping out. And more often than not, that leads to a successful result. So I'm certainly very big on El Rezen to start us off.
Yep, I like it. The only thing I'll see, and people could see my crappy shorthand notes on the screen. You could ignore most of them, but these are notes. But I do have Pletcher 3 for 41 graded stakes on turf at Saratoga. So we always throw a little stat out there. Do with it what you please. If you care about it, great. If you don't care about it, do whatever you want. We're both going with the 7, the big favorite, Farbridge, in second. Were you more looking because you liked El Rezen, or you thought Farbridge was vulnerable for some reason, or a combination of both?
I just think he's vulnerable. Now he's obviously the horse to beat, far and away. I don't think you can really deny that in any way, shape, or form. But he's been beaten when he shouldn't be beaten. Last time out, obviously he wasn't the favorite, and he ran a very hard trying third to kind of close that gap late. As they got towards the finish, or rather, that was integration. Farbridge was close the entire race, though, and just kind of got out kicked down the lane.
Yeah.
Very good horse. I'm going to try and beat him in this spot. I know Marathon is kind of his game. He is going to be out wide. I think there's some other horses that could maybe force Joel to, make a decision, whether he wants to go to the lead. But I think either way, he could get caught a little bit wide, and I think that could ultimately end up costing him as they turn for home. He doesn't win by, a huge margin. When he loses, he doesn't lose by that big a margin. So I don't want to take 6-5. And honestly, I could see something like even money with him being the clear class of this field. He might win on sheer ability. But I'm going to try and beat him in this spot with 2, but he can certainly win.
Yeah, couple things, and I think you sort of hinted at it. He doesn't generally. He's more of likes to be on the inside kind of horse. So being in the 7 hole, we'll see. Does he, like you said, does he go forward to try and work his way over if that's where he wants to be, or does Joel, like Joel's been known to do sometimes, drop back a little too far? Which he generally doesn't do with this horse. He usually has this horse pretty tactical. But again, when he's outside, he doesn't always run as well. When he's a little inside, he runs better, so we can see how the trip goes. Otherwise, though, there's not a lot to dislike. You do see here, we have the 1 for 4, 3/3 at Saratoga. Again, it could just be, for some reason, this isn't the track that he runs his best races on. I mean, again, the losses were in the Grade 1 Manhattan, the Grade 1 Manhattan, and the Grade 1. Oh, no, he won the Sword Dancer. I was trying to see where the other loss.
He certainly did win the Sword Dancer. He certainly did. The last one, the other third was in the Saratoga Derby Invitational.
Oh, there it is.
In 23.
To program training in web slinger. Yes. Yep. There it is. So again, maybe it's just not the course where he runs his best races, although he is in, I think this field is lighter than some of those fields he's faced in the past. Let's hit a couple more. You have the 6 Harrow. Do you look at Harrow as a potential win candidate, or just, hey, I have to round out a top 3. I need somebody to put in there?
Definitely a potential win candidate, I think. He's going to need to take a step up. He's going to need to take that step forward. But 8-1, you get Irad and Safi teaming up on a horse that's won 10 of his 28 career starts, given most of those not at the stakes level. I definitely want to give this one a shot to spring an upset. He'll be on my tickets. Obviously, ran in Barbados 2 back and managed to win that Gold Cup, but came back. Showed that didn't take too much out of him. That Delaware course was a little funky, as kind of those, those maybe B racetracks tend to be on those big days. You never really know how they're going to play when those, top quality horses ship into town. So Harrow ran fine. I'm not going to take anything out of that. Given that I'll get 8-1 with the jockey upgrade from Michael Sanchez now to Irad Ortiz, given I think Irad Ortiz is easily the second best jockey in that New York colony. And there's a big gap to number 1. But either way, the numbers fit. He's going to have to step up in terms of class. Sorry, dropped my bottle cap. But either way, I think Harrow can sit a pretty close by trip. I'm just hoping Irad manages to save enough ground as they go around those 3 turns.
Yeah, it's funny. He sat in the longer races. He sat a little closer. going the mile and a 16th, he was way further back. So I think I think it's with you. I think if he's too far back, and I didn't show, I'll show it real quick here. I didn't show, but from a pace projector, a time form pace projector standpoint, it looks more like a moderate pace. They don't have it coded as blue for slow or anything, but there's not a ton of speed. So it looks like if you're a big closer, like Harrow has been known to be sometimes, and the other horse who we'll just touch on real quick, Webslinger. Webslinger's my third place horse. Again, I always have a soft spot for him, but he's one of those horses who generally just leaves himself a little bit too much to do. And he winds up not winning, especially when he's at the graded stakes level. He'll hit the board. He's going to get in the trifecta most likely, but he's just not a horse that tends to win these races. What are your thoughts on him real quick? And then we'll move on to the next one.
I actually have a question about both the 4 and the 8. So the 4 is the training partner or the stablemate rather of the 2. The 2 typically comes from a little bit off of it. And we just looked at the pace projector. Tucson is projected to, be on the pace. The 8 Corruption has shown speed going these longer distances and is able to be forward. Do we think either of those 2 are going to be ones that are going to try and pressure Farbridge if he were to go to the lead? I know we talk about this kind of rabbit situation, but this seems like one where Tucson and Corruption are clearly the B's to Webslinger and El Razine. So I really do wonder if one of them tries to kind of make things, one or both, try to make things uncomfortable for Farbridge, knowing that he is kind of that class of the field. But on top of that, just I think Webslinger is certainly deserving to be the 7-2 morning line he is. He's a very talented horse. He likes these longer distance races. He's run well at Saratoga, given he hasn't found the winner's circle quite yet, but he's run over different surfaces, yielding ground in the Saratoga Derby, where he actually beat Farbridge and lost to Program Trading. And then I forget the race prior, but he ran decent. I believe it was over firm or good ground. I like him. He's just not going to be on my ticket because I don't like the price on him. And he's always been one that's going to prove me wrong, and he's always going to beat me. So I'm kind of okay with that. I've resigned to that. And I'm going to look elsewhere, but that's clearly a horse that definitely is a win candidate.
Well, you just play to pick 4 if he wins, right? You just circle
exactly.
back. I mean, that's what we wind up doing anyway. There's a quick comment here that you'll like. Matt Miller, not going to lie, can't stop looking at the new hair. Looks like background is chopping off some of it, but that's where there you go. So you're getting some compliments on the new hair. Well, if you said it's about 100 in there, I guess you don't want to have too much hair if you're sweating to death in that room, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I topped it off. I had dreads prior to summer last year that I'd been growing for about 5 years. Chopped those off prior to the internship at Del Mar. Hair was getting a little long. It was getting a little reckless. My barber decided to spend like a 3-week anniversary trip in Tokyo, which, obviously he should. But that came during the 3 weeks I needed a haircut. So he got back yesterday. I went in, I chopped it all off, and we'll grow it out through the summer. But yeah, it's nice to feel the wind on my head again. I'm not going to lie to you.
You don't have to tell me, kid. Wait till you just say, you know what? Screw it. I'm taking it all off. It's a lot. Don't worry. This isn't natural baldness. This is by choice. And
all right.
Then you don't have to go to the barber as frequently either. Here's another. Oh, that wasn't the one. Here's the one. See, Jackson is with me. There you go. Next time, shave it all off.
I'm not a bald head kind of guy. I always got a little bit on there. Maybe one day I'll get up to that though.
Tell your partner when he's ready to do it, then you'll do it. Until he has to man up and he has to cut all his off. One day,
I feel like Jackson and I will make a instead of our normal $1 bet side wager that we do, we'll do a loser has to shave the head. And we'll do it for like a $6,500 claiming event at like Mountaineer or something. We got to do something fun for it.
Now that's the kind of action I like. Now that's what I'm talking about. Let's get into that. All right, before we're stuck on here for 2-3 hours, which I've been wanting to do sometimes, let's go to race 9. Race 9, we have allowance. Another on the turf. We got a 1 1/8 on the turf here. Purse 110,000. We have a big one. We have 12 in the body of the main field, and we have 4 MTOs actually this time. The favorite, not surprisingly, 5-2, the entry, the 1 and the 1A, the Chad Brown entry. Let's see where we're going here. It looks like Ryan is just ready to just start tossing favorites. So you weren't lying where you're like, I don't want much to do with any of these favorites. But let's talk about your top choice. You're going with the 3 who are Or no, sorry, you're going with the 5. I'm going with the 3. You're going with a nice price here. The 5, Gilded Kraken. Tell me what you like about this one and why he's going to beat the 2 Chads.
Yeah, look, the 2 Chads, I don't even think they're deserving favorites in this spot, to be completely honest. I get the case on the 1A, and I think that would be the horse that's going to take the majority of the money. Seeing his move to Gold's coming off of over a year layoff since last running poorly in the Manila when defeated by Neat. Not that poorly, but, a mild third. Gets Lasix for the first time. I know that Debt Limit had Lasix, or has had Lasix his entire career, and he has a running style that's definitely going to complement Flavien Prat in the way he likes to ride those turf races. They drew so far outside. They're going to take so much money in these pools. I have them 4th. I went 5-3-9 with the coupled entry, but I have no desire to try and use either of these as a win candidate. I opted with the number 5, Gilded Kraken, just because those turf races keep catching my eye, especially the 2 he ran last year at Saratoga, given those are also maybe a little bit of a step down from what he's facing today. But both of those fit pretty well here. This is probably a horse that I'm hoping Jose really just sends this horse out to the lead pretty much by all costs. Even if you go a little fast for the first quarter and then maybe back things down, he's not one that has necessarily shown a strong affinity of passing horses. I think he is best if you just kind of get him out on the lead and try and get him loose. Second off the bench now after that last start, June 1st, where he lost to Multitask, who came right back out to win after Gilded Kraken was up on the pace from post 12 that day too. Kind of 3-path both times. So I'm going to try and get a little creative with this 12-1 in Gilded Kraken. We've seen Joe Sharp and Jose Ortiz team up time after time for winners. Normally you don't get a price like 12-1 because if they're at Fairgrounds or if they're at Churchill Downs, you'll get, you're lucky to get above 5-2. This is one of those scenarios where I think we have a horse with a real shot to improve second off the bench to start his 5-year-old season.
No, I agree with you. And again, we'll look real quick at the time form, and you see the 5 Gilded Kraken is projected to have a clear lead. And we've seen, again, today you said it was playing fair, and from the races I watched, I thought it was playing fair, but we've also seen the New York tracks. We've seen Saratoga where they get on the turf and it doesn't always play so fair, where the speed just does go to the lead and they don't catch him. And it doesn't have to be like the best horse in the world getting on the lead. It just has to be a horse who's quick enough to get out there and they don't challenge the horse. The horse gets loose and nothing happens. So I could see this one as a threat for sure. My biggest problem was he just has a hard time holding, and that worries you obviously because you're like, okay, yes, this is speed, but there is other horses, and he's not a horse that is really good necessarily at holding on the lead. But again, you put him on the right track, you put him, not as challenged, you give him the right fractions, he gets the good ride from Jose, and then we see where we're at. I have the 3 as my top choice. You have the 3 in second, Taraj. This is another one, hasn't run since June, ran at Ascot, lost to J.R. Eby, who people might know was actually in the Breeders' Cup last year. I think ran 7th, if I remember correctly, but is a really good horse. Bellum Justum, King's Gambit before that, Los Angeles. So this was a horse that was knocking heads with some quality horses last year. Now we're coming off a pretty lengthy layoff, but you're in the hands of Mott. You're in the hands of Junior. Again, we talk about the 3 to 4-year-old progression. If this horse progresses from 3 to 4, then I think the talent that he showed and the level that he showed last year, if you can progress off that, I think this is the kind of field he could just be better than, and then this could be a stepping stone for something a little bit better down the road. What do you think about this one? I mean, it's always hard when you haven't seen a horse in a while, but what do you look at in terms of this one as being you look at this one as a real high win contender, I assume?
I do, just because I don't necessarily view anybody else in this field as a major win candidate.
Okay.
I want to get creative with the 5. I thought, maybe this is just kind of one of those scenarios where a horse just gets loose on the front end and maybe takes him all the way. But if there's a horse that I want coming from off the pace and closing down the center of the track, it's going to be this runner from the Bill Mott barn, given he doesn't have a whole lot of success with these foreign shippers. I believe he's only 1 for 9 with these foreign shippers coming over in turf routes in the past 5 years. Not something he does a whole lot of. And that being said, though, he doesn't really bring over ones with high quality or that are, this high caliber that have faced, these types of running lines. And when they have, they typically go right into stakes. So I look at this one as maybe a horse that maybe just needs Lasix. You can see the bold L on the screen. So yep. I'm hoping that first time Lasix just kind of wakes this horse up. We obviously know that typical for the Bill Mott barn, this horse is probably going to drop all the way to the back of the field, and then this horse is going to make one run. We're going to see if it's good enough. This is a very difficult race for sure. Unless you want to go with the coupled entry, you could go a million different directions with this one. The board is also going to tell a big story, I think, on this horse. This could be one of those, they knew or ice cold type of horses. So definitely watch the board. It's good that this is the second race in the sequence. We'll be able to look at the probables and everything like that to try and give us a little bit of a forecast of what to expect. Yeah, definitely. And the one thing I liked about this horse, he's been here. You could tell he's been here a little bit. He's got multiple works. I mean, they've been on the dirt, but they've gotten increasingly better. So he's getting a little bit better. So maybe he's just working his way up. But again, like you said, it could be that, hey, we're coming off a pretty long layoff. Mott's getting used to the horse. Maybe he's a little bit too far back and maybe he hits the board and it's a stepping stone race to move forward to something else. But I think if, again, just based on where he was in against last year, there's some talent there. And if that talent, I think the talent is better than any horse in the race if he's ready. And if Mott has him, sharp enough and he gets a decent enough trip where it's a pretty big field. So you don't want him having to, circle 10, 11 horses. Hopefully He can be a little bit closer than that. We'll hit a couple real quick ones here. The number 9, Then, who I actually was hemming and hawing about putting in the top few here. I kind of like this horse a little bit. What'd you like about this one? Win candidate? Again, I'll ask this a lot with like the third place horse. Win candidate here, or just a horse you think, hey, in a race where if the Chads don't win, it's pretty wide open. How are you looking at this one? Yeah, we've talked about the time form pace figures, and obviously you can see the early and the late on the screen. This horse has better late pace figure than one of the 2 Chad Brown entries, and I believe it's like a tick lower than the other one. So should be right there. I think has earlier, better earlier signal than both of them. So just that and the mix of the really sharp works coming in here since that April race in Keeneland, where again lost to English Channel, who I believe had gone back to back at that point, breaking his maiden at a price at Keeneland. Just looked like a horse that really just skipped over the Keeneland turf, to be honest, but then ran really well. Obviously, you get the jockey switch from Junior Alvarado to Irad Ortiz. I think you can look at that as a positive. Obviously, I've said that Irad's the second best jockey, but if you can get a guy like Irad at 6-1, that is the kind of value that you are happy to take on him. Where I get kind of fed up is when Irad gets bet down to 2-1 or 4-5 or anything in that range on a horse that doesn't deserve to be anywhere near that kind of atmosphere. But 6-1 on a horse that can certainly have a really strong late kick that he put on display last time out at Keeneland. I think this one is definitely a win contender, but I will be using him in some exotics and some verticals underneath as well. Yeah, I agree with you. I like when you could switch to Irad and it's a horse that's going to be coming off the pace. He's always comfortable doing that, and he can time his runs really well. We got some stuff in the chat for a couple horses. Let's hit those real quick. We got the number 10. Could the 10 be live for McPeak? I have the 10 in second. I want to know what you think about this one, because this is a horse. Now, if you look at it, as we always say on the show, he got sort of DFS, as Paul likes to say, Derby fever syndrome, but it wasn't even the syndrome. It's not like he was just in it and running like crap. He was in these races and he was running, a second in the Rebel to Timberlake. Yeah, he ran 5th to Mystic Dan and 5th to Catching Freedom, but he wasn't embarrassed in those races. So it wasn't like, hey, what the hell is this horse doing in these races? But if you look at the breeding screams turf. I even had that in a note from way back, probably from the Louisiana Derby. I had an old note in there, and it was just like, I want to see this horse get on the turf at some point. Now, he's been off for a while, but there's some pretty strong works there. To me, I just look at it as, this is a really talented horse. He could be the most talented horse in the race. We just haven't seen it on the turf yet. Put him on there. If he runs his best race and you can get him at a decent price, I think he's super dangerous. Did you look at this one at all? What were your thoughts on him? I gave this one a look. The booking of Kendrick Caramouche for McPeak, which is it's not super common, but we have seen it in the past, tells me that the intention is going to be to get this one forward, maybe even on the lead first time, and just kind of see how far he can take his speed. Being by Caraconte, obviously should handle the grass. Out of the Street Cry mare, should be fine for a little bit of turf. I got to pass, though. You're coming off of over a year layoff. You have other really talented horses in here. This one could certainly surprise. Another one that I'll want to watch the board a little bit. If this one's taking, some of that live looking money, maybe this is one I'll kind of consider. Kenny McPeak also, this just really isn't this isn't his game of moving these horses to the turf. He is more that dirt trainer. He's only, from what I can see, 2% from 56 starters, first time trying turf. And if you go into Formulator and you go over 180 days since their last start and then going dirt to turf, he's 0 for 7, given that's not a big sample size. Enough reason for me to try and fade this horse. But I'll look at the probables. I'll look at the projected will pays and everything like that. If this one's taking substantial money, maybe I'll change my opinion a little bit, and I'll include him if I go a little bit deep in this leg on any of my tickets. But as of right now, I don't really view him as a win contender.
Yeah, I had one stat, 0 for 25, first-time turf at the allowance level for McPeak, but he does have, it's not his game, but I just looked at it and said, hey, what if this horse is just good on the turf and we just don't know it yet? So at a price, if you can get him at a price, again, in a race that I think is pretty wide open, I'm not against playing him. I think there was one other question, probably about I think it was the 11.
It was about the 4, I believe.
Oh, was there one about the 4 from Matt? Is that who it was?
It was. Navy Seal.
Oh, that's right. Navy Seal. I didn't like Navy Seal. You see, Wesley Ward, 0 for 25 turf routes at Saratoga. He's just not for me in this race. I just think he's a notch below. What do you think? Same thing?
Yeah, that, and I love to see Victor Espinoza getting these mounts, outside of California where he's been since his bid with pretty much American Pharoah. But I can't. I can't. I can't trust him. I didn't trust him out in Del Mar. I'm not going to trust him now. 3 wins on the year. Obviously, I hope he has some success, but he's going to have to beat me on this one. And again, I'm with you in the sense that I think this horse is just kind of a notch below everybody else in this field.
Yeah, it's not the best field in the world, but it's good enough to where I think there's a certain level you have to get to win it. Again, all hell could break loose, and who the hell knows? But he just wasn't for me. Let's move on to the 10th, unless you had anybody else you wanted to hit there, but I think we've covered that one pretty well. Move on to the 10th. Now we're going allowance optional claiming, 100,000. We're going 7 furlongs, purse, 120K. This is a tough field. We're going 11 deep here in the main body, no also eligibles. And the favorite, number 4, general partner, Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt. I think he might have had a winner or so today. How'd Pratt, what did he end up with? Did he end up just with the 3? I didn't see.
I think just the 3. He had that Jose Ortiz closing day, but he did the Saratoga opening day where
the opening day.
Instead of 4 straight for Jose, Pratt went 3 straight to start the day and cooled off a little bit. But hey, that's still a nice jump on the rest of the jockeys out there.
I think he hit the board a couple times too. Yeah. So he's in his regular form already, and everybody who watches this show knows that the thing I hate, Ryan, is when I see Pratt on a horse that I don't love, but he's just enough to make me question whether I should like the horse. And I hate it because I look at it and go, I don't want to like this horse. I don't want to waste money on this horse. But if I lose to a horse that looks like has a little bit of a shot and has Pratt, then I'm just pissed off. So that's the way I go. So I'm going with 475. Ryan is going with 711.5 here. Let's talk about yours first, because this is a horse I like. I have in second. You have on top. Another price, Illuminaire, 8-1, Pletcher, Saez. What do you like about this one? I want to see if we're on similar wavelengths here, because I was close to putting this one on top.
I mean, first off, Pletcher and Saez, you said it. You said it there. These two team up, and you better watch out. I get that they're 0 for 14 at Saratoga over the past year, but that's not something I'm going to put too much weight into. I think this horse is much better with Lasix. All of his races with Lasix have been so much better. His races at Saratoga, given they were during his 3-year-old season, and they came in his first 2 starts, they were still very strong. They also came against older, and he won both of those very convincingly. Irad was aboard those days. Saez has been aboard for the last out and 3 back. This one's coming off a bit of a layoff. Going to make his 4-year-old debut. This Colt by City of Light, you might get a good price. 7 furlongs, difficult, spot to come back at. But I like the way that this race looks to be shaping up for him. Saez should be able to sit right behind some pace setters, which I believe there's a decent amount of kind of I don't want to say cheap speed, but kind of cheap speed. So I'm hoping the 7 just kind of sits that trip. The 10 Concrete Glory surely is going to go out to the front. The 6 in Lightman, I think, again, just kind of a cut below this level, but is one that definitely likes to be forward. And last note on Illuminaire, is this horse, I already mentioned 2 for 2 at Saratoga. So you got to love the horse for course. Drew outside again for this effort. So I really do hope Saez just has this one in the position. And he's going to make that move that Saez always does, where he takes the lead turning for home before they get to the top of the stretch. And by the time everybody else kind of gets into gear, he's already, 2 lengths up, and he just has to hold on. And that's why it's so tough to pass Luis in the stretch. So that's what I'm going to hope for as I go for a bit of another upset here at the 7.
Yeah, no, you hit all the points I had. I thought the Lasix was a big one. And unfortunately for Saez, his 2 times on this horse were both without Lasix and both in stakes races. So again, I always talk about this. I don't know how you think about it. It's always hard to sort of discern, was it the Lasix that got him in those races? Was it the class that got him? Was it a combination of the 2? It's hard to know that, and you're never really going to know. You just have to see when they come back. And now if he runs better again with the Lasix, or is he just in with a class of horse that fits him better? And you never know. It's hard to know that, but I just look at him and think, hey, there's a lot to like. You're getting a price, and he's coming off the layoff. I did have a stat in there. Pletcher first after 180 to 210 on the dirt in the past year, 5 for 8 wins, 6 for 8 in the money. So again, off this kind of layoff, he can get, I mean, it's Todd Pletcher, obviously he can get a horse ready, but he's good off this type of layoff. This is a $500,000 purchase off a $35,000 stud fee. To me, I think there's talent here. And again, maybe it's just the Lasix that puts him over the top, and he gets it here. And if that's enough, fantastic. I saw a note. We're going to talk. Actually, let's do that now. Paul Conlon was asking about Scotland. We both have him in third. Then we'll hit a couple other horses. We'll hit General Partner after that. Scotland, I like this horse. What were your thoughts on this one? I mean, this is one that also has been in some big races. You see, last year was in 23, I should say, was in the Travers, the PA Derby. Last year, Vosburg, the Bold Ruler. Now, I think there's some things to like about this horse. What'd you think about him?
This horse just pisses me off, if we're being honest. This horse is so inconsistent from the Belmont barn, and that's not something you typically see from him, like from his horses. Typically, when he gets them going, they stay going. This horse is so start and stop and just goes in and out of form so inconsistently. A lot of layoff lines to contend with. That being said, this horse loves Saratoga. 7 furlongs is this horse's best distance. 7-2 is a little bit short for what I would prefer, but I can't remember the last time Alvarado and Mott didn't win a race, and I'll keep saying that probably throughout the rest of the year, because they really just seem to win everything that they're on. This horse is going to sit another really good trip, just going to sit behind the pace. Alvarado seems to really know how to ride this horse, as most of his wins have come with Alvarado aboard. I'm looking at 4 wins on the screen, all with Alvarado as the pilot. I don't think that this field is the toughest, and he's run a really, really strong performance last year at Saratoga. He beat me that day at 4-1. It was a field very similar to this. These kind of open-ended optional claimers where it's horses that haven't won X since January of this year, or there's a lot of conditions that can kind of fit a horse in. So you get these multi-time winners. You get a lot of these stakes tried horses that haven't quite got the job done. It's kind of like a band of misfits. But I think Scotland he's very capable of winning this. I'm not going to get beat by him again. I got to use him.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. I don't really have anything else to say. The only thing I would say is what I liked. You said he's good at Saratoga, and he won both of his races in his first race back. I mean, he's only run here 3 times, so that might not mean anything, but he came off Churchill. He wins the Curlin in 23. Then last year, in July. Saratoga, he comes back, he wins that optional claimer that you're talking about. So maybe he just gets here and he wakes up a little bit. And again, I think he's talented enough where this field could be a little bit step below his top end. So if he can run his top end race, maybe it's a little bit better than these guys. So I'm with you on that one.
If he runs back to that Cherokee Mile effort, he'd blow the doors off this field.
He wins this. He pretty much wins this race. And I think we'll talk about General Partner now.
Yeah.
General Partner's the one horse who his top end is probably also better than everybody.
Yes.
You don't always get his top end. And the way I looked at it was, you see, the last one was in the slop. He on a wet track. He's got a 469 Tomlinson, if anybody cares about that. He ran that race on the slop. He ran second in the Champagne to Timberlake in the slop. His other races are the only one that's excellent, the allowance race. The other ones are good. They don't tower over the field. The 2 slop races and then that one in the allowance race do. What are your thoughts on this one? You don't have him anywhere. Was it just the price thing that you don't like about him, or is there something about the horse himself? He's got our guy Pratt on there, so that always moves a horse forward a bit, but drags the price down also.
This horse just kind of stinks to me. I mean, has failed as the favorite a lot. I get the point. Deserving favorite because 2 races in this horse's PPs blow the doors off this field again. It'd be if he runs his A race, he's beating this field probably by an open length. Even if Scotland runs his A race, you're gonna get 6-5, 7-5, 8-5 on this horse. He's gonna get bet down heavily, certainly in the horizontals. This is a really difficult race. I'm gonna try and beat this favorite. I mean, comes out of a lot stricter conditioned optional claiming events than what this is. So he wasn't facing that caliber of horse. If you look at even the horse Victory Way, who finished second by a length and 3/4, that horse is probably 10-1 in here. If Victory Way would have popped up, I mean, the caliber of horse,
he's got nothing in there. Yeah, I mean, he's not a top-notch horse by any stretch.
Exactly. And he was. I feel like a lot of those horses were moved up off of that sloppy effort on that sloppy racetrack at Saratoga over that was Belmont Stakes Festival weekend, I believe. And then prior to that, his other A-plus effort came out of the Wilson chute from post 3, which you want to be in those inside 3 when you break from a field like that. And that being said, he was a tick above even money. He was coming off of a Breeders' Cup Juvenile effort that was a little lackluster, but I mean, he came out and he ran really well. I can just kind of poke enough holes.
Didn't back it up when he came. He was off again for a long time.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate, but then didn't back it up. So that was the outlier. And then the last race was closer to it finally. But I agree. He's got a couple outlier. He's got like Baby Yoda syndrome where you look at and there's a couple races on there where you're like, man, if he runs that, these horses are done. But if he runs some of the other ones, they're going to beat him and he's going to be a pretty low price, I would think.
He is. He's going to be a very low price. I think he's just going to be way too overbet in this spot. I don't necessarily disagree, but I'd love to like that combo is one that I will lean on heavily on turf. I'm less inclined to lean on them on dirt. They'll bet it like it's a turf race, like it's those 3 teaming up. And Chad Brown can train on on dirt. Obviously, Pratt can ride on anything. I'm going to try and beat that horse in the horizontals.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I had the horse on top, but that was more of, I can't lose to that horse because I think his best is the best in the race. So I don't like losing, and I don't like losing to Pratt. That's my thing. So if Pratt's on a horse that I think could be the best horse in the race, I'm not inclined to leave that off a ticket. Because if we can get some prices elsewhere, then I don't want to lose my pick 5 because of that. The last one I want to hit real quick, 24 Mamba. This horse has beat General Partner. He was really in form for a little bit there. The last one wasn't as good, but he stumbled out of the gate, so he was taken completely out of. I mean, he was 3-1 in that race. That was like we just talked about. That was a Baby Yoda freak race, and this horse, who needs to be near the front, once he stumbled and was in the back, his race was done. So he was screwed. So that's a complete toss to me. If you get the races from 2 and 3 back, I think this horse is right in the mix. I know you don't have that one there, but was this one you considered putting on? Like, would you consider on the ticket potentially?
Definitely. I'm very, very deep in this leg. And you pointed out basically all the points that I had. Obviously, big excuse off that last effort, stumbling out of the gate. but has faced this kind of open level optional claiming company before. Also, that ownership group, inexplicably, they run so well at Saratoga. We don't need to go any farther than that, but all of a sudden their horses seem to run off the screen when they get up here for the summer. They had a monster season last year. They started off with, they had their first mount, I believe it was for July 4th festival. Their first mount was a winner. I saw the ownership and I blindly put a win bet just because I figured that they were going to try and run and win, and they did. So yeah, Flying P Stable forgets how to lose when they come to Saratoga. So this is certainly one. I have that one fourth, and then General Partner in fifth. So I'm very, very deep. This is the big spread leg for me, and we'll touch on that more as we get into the next leg. But if we could talk about the 11 before we move on. That's the horse I have in second.
Wait, real quick. We got Paul wants to do a little side bet there. Hey, Ryan, side bet my 5 against your 7 for our next haircut. Look at that. What do you think?
I respect that, but I cannot wager my hair on Illuminaire. I can't do it.
Well, he's not saying you have to cut it all off. He's just saying you pay. I assume he's saying you pay for his, he pays for yours. Unless there's, I don't know, Paul. Let us know.
Is it next style of the haircut, or like what are the terms here? But this is not a race where I want to wager anything other than my money in these horizontals because I have no idea who could win this race, and that's why I ended up with a horse like the number 11.
Yes, I'm sorry, I apologize. I forgot you had that one in second. So yeah,
you're all good. I mean this is a horse for Nick Zito that's just going the right direction. Okay, so it's not okay. So pay for the haircut. Still no on this race. Respectfully, I'm many deep. I have no strong opinions. Illuminaire just happens to be the best, but Uncle Charlie's Gift, I think, could run a really good race. I don't know that I view this one as a win contender, but has run some really good races up at the Spa and is in really good form and seems to be improving race by race and increasing the margin of victory in those last two. Dylan Davis reunites with this horse, won on this mount 2 back down at Gulf Scheme Park. Where won at 10-1 and then came right back under Sammy Camacho to win it almost 17-1. Now you get 30-1 on the morning line. I get that this is a much tougher test, but this is one that's going to be going the right direction. Drew to the outside and has enough early foot to get this one kind of involved early. And I think crazier things have happened. Nick Zito and the Spa, they love each other. He's had a long history up there. So this is what I'm going to include on my tickets. Again, this is a cluster of a race. So I want to throw a bomb in there, spice things up, and see if that summer of Dylan Davis can continue.
Hey, doesn't Nick have a podcast with one of your podcast partners? Why don't you give them a little shout out real quick?
He does. Kaylee Shapiro and Nick Zito have a podcast for NYRA Bets called Right or Wrong. Every week they kind of sit down and they go through the history of whether it's Nick Zito's racing, and he gets to kind of give viewers the inside scoop on what his racing career has been like, which is wildly interesting, as one could imagine. And then they'll have on really cool guests. I mean, their second episode had Bob Baffert on. He sat down and he talked with them for an hour, and that's not something you see Bob do unless it's NBC or anything like that. So the fact that they were able to get Bob to sit down and have a really in-depth conversation is really cool. So that's definitely a show to check out. It's called Right or Wrong. It's on the NYRA Bets YouTube channel. It's very cool. I'm happy Kaylee gets that opportunity, and Nick Zito seems like a very fun guy to sit down and talk to.
Well, an Italian guy from the East Coast doesn't get much better than that. So tell Kaylee, though, I haven't watched any of the recent ones. Tell her they just need 3 mics, though. The microphone is the problem.
They got to add a couple more.
NYRA's got money. Tell them to add to the budget. They can throw a couple more microphones in there. All right, let's hit the big one of the day. We'll go on to, this was a really fun race. We're going to move to race 11, the Duncan. Of course, everything has to have a sponsor. The Duncan Diana Stakes, Grade 1, $500,000 purse, going 1 1/8 miles on the inner turf. The rail will be at 9 feet, as you can see. And it's a very small field, but it's a very talented field. We're going 6 deep, and we got a pretty big favorite, the 1, She Feels Pretty. And let's see if we're going with the 1 here, or if you're like Ryan, you're saying screw She Feels Pretty and Cherie DeVoe. Let's just toss that one right out. So, I'm going with 154. I'm going to chalk it out here. Ryan is going with 625. Let's get into it. Let's start with you first. We'll just, we'll leave the favorite for later. Let's go with Be Your Best, who's winning the Gamely on the West Coast. Tell me this isn't a West Coast,
No,
This
no.
horse is coming from the West, so you got to back her a little bit. What do you like about this one to take this field down?
Honestly, there's a couple things. One, this race is on the inner where I believe the rails are still going to be down. I know they were down today. I believe
at 9
it stays
feet in the
9 feet.
In the
Okay.
notes, but I don't know if it'll change for any reason, but I assume
they were down today, which means they'll be out at 9 feet for this weekend. Either way, that's fine. Be Your Best just kind of looks loose in this spot. I'm against. I guess I should start with why I'm against. She feels pretty.
Yeah, let's do it.
That last effort in the New York, I don't think that was a very strong field at all. I get that Beach Bomb is a decent horse, but if Beach Bomb was in here in places She Feels Pretty, I don't think she's lower than 7-2 maybe. I'm gonna try and beat She Feels Pretty in this spot. Maybe that's a fool's errand. But her 2 races at Saratoga arguably have not been her strongest. Obviously, last time out over that bog of a course in the New York Stakes over Belmont Stakes weekend. I just mentioned not the strongest field, not the biggest field either. She doesn't win at Saratoga the way she kind of romps everywhere else. The race at Churchill and the Modesty, the American Oaks, obviously at Santa Anita. I was there that day, and my goodness, she blew the doors off of everybody in there. But that wasn't a strong field either. The Queen Elizabeth II Cup. That was kind of her coming out party, so to speak, for the kind of caliber of horse she is. But I feel like this is a perfect spot to try and beat her. So I have to go with the 6. Be Your Best, because I think the number one way you're going to beat her is with a horse that's going to show speed. And this one's coming from the outside. It's over the inner turf. It's not a big field. There's really nobody else with this early speed in here. And she ran the brakes off of everybody in the Gamely. And again, not the strongest field. I'm not trying to, compare one or the other, but with any sort of intent from Be Your Best, IRAD should be loose in here. And that is an extremely dangerous place to be. If you are IRAD, you're loose on the lead. With a Saffie Joseph trainee coming off this one's first Grade 1 win. I just want to give this one a big shot to spring a big upset in the sequence.
Yeah, I have no problem. I thought this is one of those races where if any of them win, I'm not completely surprised. And I think you could make a case for all of them. Saffie for me, 6 for 122, graded stakes on turf. Saffie IRAD combo, 1 for 10, graded stakes on turf. But the win was with this horse last out. So that gives you a little bit of confidence there. Hopefully, the way I look at it is, let's go back. We could probably hit every horse here since it's such a small field. We'll start at the top. I just feel She Feels Pretty. She's a tough one to leave off because I agree with you. Her Saratoga races haven't been the best. The Lake Placid, though, if you look there, that was the race that sort of prompted Cherie to put the blinkers on. And as soon as they put the blinkers on, this horse's career basically turned around. She went from being a really good horse to potentially a great horse. And like you said, last time out, though, wasn't the sharpest, but it was also a yielding course.
Yeah.
Did that take a little bit of a toll on her a little bit? We're going 1 1/8 miles here. That was 1 3/16. So there was a little bit longer. It was a yielding turf. Again, it wasn't a great field, but who the hell knows with some of those bogs like that you see some of those days. So maybe that's what took a little bit of the starch out of her, and she still was able to win and sort of, I thought, comfortable enough. I never felt like Beach Bomb was getting to her or anything. So she just looks at one that if she stays in this form, she's just really tough. So I agree with you. It's like, hey, if you're going to take a shot, there's a bunch of other horses in this race whose best race could definitely win. So this could be a good one to take a shot.
There's 3 Grade 1 winners in this field, not including She Feels Pretty. And there's 3 runners that have run triple-digit Beyer speed figures, which is the best that She Feels Pretty has ever done. I just think she's going to be tremendously overbet in this spot. And again, she can absolutely win. She will likely win. I'm gonna try and beat her. I know I'm only I think. So
you're tossing her. You would toss her off your pick 5. You're saying
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm 2, 4, 5, 6 in my pick 5. So I'll toss the 1 and I'll toss the 3.
Just as a quick philosophical side note here, would you do anything? Are you the type of person who would do anything and say, hey, you know what? I like some prices in some of the other races. Let me put in a small ticket with some of my other horses that I like a lot and just do like her singled here, just in case you're really right about the other ones and you're wrong here. Would you do anything like that, or is that just not your style?
really my style. I might play a double starting in this race with She Feels Pretty into a couple prices I like in the last race.
Okay.
But other than that, no. If she beats me, she beats me. I'm not going to try and waste money just trying to kind of cover her on the back end. She's not even a C for me. I just want to toss her completely. I want to try and beat her. Very likely winner. I'm not trying to say that she's not a good horse. I'm just going to try and beat her in this spot.
I like it. No, I like the stand. You got to take it. We're going to talk quick about the two. Koisia, I forget how you pronounce her name. Choisia, right? Did I butcher it? Yes, I did.
I love that horse, though.
Rudy said Pete, number 2. I loved her at Keeneland. Yep. Yeah, 2 back. That was like my play of the year, basically, and it actually worked out. Although most people think Excellent Truth ran the best race in that one. But, hey, the winner won the race, and I'm happy enough to do that.
That was good race riding, Pete. I was all over Choisia too. So was Charlie. No, Choisia ran the best race, ran a winning race, and it's come back to prove that way, I think.
And again, the last one, here's where you wonder, was it the yielding course? Was it the trip a little bit? Which I guess the trip wasn't that different than it was in the Jenny Wiley. But was it the yielding course? They were going a mile that day. Now we're going to 1 1/8, which she's won at. But the last one scared me just enough to where now I'm worried about her. And maybe the first race was the one that was the one you were supposed to have her. And now she maybe just isn't as good as some of these others. But if she runs back to the Jenny Wiley or some of the two prior races were really why I liked her in the Jenny Wiley. I just thought she had just a nice kick late, and she was really strong down the lane in those races at Meydan, if I'm remembering correctly. And so I think if she can get back to that form, I think she's a threat for sure.
No doubt. She was okay. Yeah. You mentioned that in the Jenny Wiley, this was kind of like your play of the year, so to speak, that actually came to fruition. And in the same way, like I pictured exactly how this race was going to be. I wanted Saez on the rail. I wanted him to tip out. I wanted him to get that jump on Excellent Truth, and everything kind of, came true. And that was
Isn't it nice when that happens every once in a while?
It's so nice. It happens so rarely. I'm happy it happened at, almost 7-1 that day. Last time out, I'm going to excuse that entire effort. That was a course that changed conditions quickly. I know it was listed as yielding, but they got, inches of rain in the span of an hour on an absolute deluge there. So I'm going to excuse that effort. On top of that, she drew post 9 of 9 that day. And she was 3-4 wide the entire way around the racetrack, just had no shot. You can do that in an allowance field if you're a horse like Choisia coming over here for the first time. Or even the second time,
field,
but you can't do that against a grade 1 field in the Just a Game with horses. Like dynamic pricing and Excellent Truth, they sat relatively good trips, much better compared to Choisia. Choisia draws back on the inside again. Saez is a very smart rider, very heads up. He's going to be sitting in a pretty clear and open second place, I feel. He's going to be sitting right behind Be Your Best. He's going to get the jump on She Feels Pretty. He's going to get the jump on everybody else in this field. The 2 Chad Browns come to mind. I feel like this is another perfect place to take a horse like Choisia. You're going to get 8-1 or at least somewhere near there. And that's excellent value.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Let's see. I had a couple comments here. Has anybody thrown Pete some love about Fiona overnight? I don't need any love, James, but thank you. I appreciate that. At least I made I don't mind picking against a horse if I'm actually making a logical case when you're picking against a top horse, sort of like Ryan was doing here, where there's logical case. It's not just, hey, I just want to beat this big favorite. You're doing it with a logical case. I think that's the point there. Real quick, Jim, I made an earlier wager on the blind that Pete will win best bets. Crown is determined by Katie. That's a lock, as Katie said. I always get the best bet. And then real quick, Matt, Pete, when you concede to taking the chalk, I pay attention. You try so hard to not do that, similar to Jackson, knowing how hard you tried to pick someone else. I see no reason to look further. Yeah, but I don't know, Matt. I think in this one, I don't look at it. I'm with Ryan in the sense that I don't think it's a layover. So if she gets bet down really, really hard, I don't think she's a lock. Real quick,
I'll say this.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, not to keep talking about please. She Feels Pretty, but I felt like Nitrogen was a much more likely winner than She Feels Pretty is in this spot. And Nitrogen went down. Given I don't know about the trip, I don't love it. But if I viewed Nitrogen as a much more likely winner than She Feels Pretty in this spot, I gotta play against She Feels Pretty again. Yeah. She could win. She might make me look a little foolish. That's okay. I'll lose to a 3 to 5 shot. I'll live to fight another day.
How can you look foolish with a beautiful haircut like that? Come on, man.
Yeah, right.
That's gonna keeps you looking good anyway. You don't have to be smart when you're looking that good, right? You can just
Thank
be.
you.
You're on the West Coast. You know all about that. Real quick on Choice, but the one thing I did like too about her. On the soft ground, she didn't run her best overseas. So maybe that sort of boggy turf isn't her thing. Lady Claypool, I don't really need to get in too much. Baltus did come over with AG Bullet and he doesn't come over. What was it? Baltus, he won his last trip. First in New York since 2021 was the race with AG Bullet. I really liked AG Bullet that day, so I'll take a little curtain call on that one, but I don't really think she has a huge shot unless all hell breaks loose. Excellent Truth, Brown, Pratt, Resolute here. Lost both times, though. Wasn't able to get the job done. Again, 2 wet tracks. So now if we do get a more firmer turf on Saturday, we'll see if that changes her fortune. But real quick, anything on Excellent Truth?
Yeah, this was kind of a 3B to the 5. Okay. I'm not trying to split either of those two. I mentioned a little bit earlier, I'm going 2, 4, 5, 6 in my horizontals. Excellent Truth makes a lot of sense. I don't love these Chad Browns. They don't seem to be able to punch their way to the finish, though. 2 excellent rides by Flavien Prat. Still didn't get the job done. It makes me think maybe this one is kind of that cut below. And I'm sure Noah's going to appreciate all the words coming out of my mouth right now.
No, and I agree with you, too, because that was my concern is sometimes you don't like the horse that just has a tendency to hit second. And they're the ones that don't always come through for you. Last one, dynamic pricing. I mean, this horse is just on the upswing. We talked about it earlier. We like I know I like it. It sounds like you do as well, the sort of 3 to 4 progression. And this horse was a good horse last year. Spotty, though. Came back this year in the Bouguet, nice win, then jumps up to the Just the Game and beats the field beats some of these horses at 10 to 1. I think this is another one that could just be on the upswing. And this is the one I sort of thought, hey, if we can beat the one, I think this one might be able to do it. And I think this one, for some reason, doesn't take as much money. I mean, you got the Pratt factor. Obviously, She Feels Pretty is going to take a crap load of money. So maybe this one, you actually get this price. And if you do, I think that could be nice.
I'll say this. This is going to be the horse I have a win bet on. I know I picked Be Your Best in front and Choicia in second. And both of those, I feel like I've made good cases for why they can win. This is going to be the horse that I think is going to be a dramatic overlay. I think you'll get somewhere in the range of 8 to 1. I think She Feels Pretty is going to be 3 to 5. Maybe 1 to 2. I think is about where she's going to end up. I think Excellent Truth is going to take a lot of money. Obviously, we know Resolute and John Stewart, they love to bet their own horses, rightfully so. They have very talented horses. I think Excellent Truth is going to take a lot of money. Outside of that, I think Choicia and dynamic pricing are going to really float up. I think dynamic pricing especially, and I don't understand why. This is the exact kind of horse that I want in a race like this. You know, Chad Brown points to the Diana every year. He's pretty much the king. That comment nailed it. The other Chad. This other Chad
I
just
love the
won
other Chads.
This other Chad just won a grade 1 over the normal Chad.
The normal Chad. Yeah, the real Chad. Yeah.
I don't understand it. I know it's Flavien Prat. I get it, I guess, but this horse is coming into his own. Dylan Davis has been riding phenomenal. I mean, give me dynamic pricing. I almost picked this one on top, but I felt the way that the race was going to shape up, I felt that 625 was more appropriate just because I think it's going to favor those horses towards the front. But I mean, dynamic pricing is going to be, I would bet, over 6 to 1 in this spot.
Yeah, and I guess the one thing is, and we'll hit this will be the last point. We'll move on to the last one since we've been on for a while. Since it's such a short field, like this one, maybe you'd worry in a bigger field about getting sort of lost in the shuffle a little bit and having a little bit too much to do. But in a short field here, maybe you just stick a little closer the whole way and you can make that move a little earlier and you're just closer. I mean, just by nature, because I don't think even Be Your Best, or I don't think any of the horses that'll be near the lead, none of them are sort of gun away kind of horses. Like, I don't think Be Your Best is going to pull one of those where they're all of a sudden she's up by 7 going blazing fractions. I think it's going to be where I think it'll be pretty tightly bunched. So I don't think anybody's going to be completely out of it, but I really like dynamic pricing here. Yeah. I think I don't know what I'll do on the pick 5 yet. I haven't really constructed the tickets yet to see how deep I can go here based on what I'm doing in some of the other races. But you see here, I had 1, 4, 5. I had 3. So I do mine a little bit different. These aren't like how I would play them. These are like my 3 sort of win candidates, and that's the way I was looking at it. So there's 3 that I could consider on top for sure.
I like it.
Let's hit the last one. We won't talk about this one as long. I didn't have a huge feel for it, but the 12th maiden special weight, 5.5 furlongs on the turf, $100,000 purse. We have 10 in the main body, and we have 1 MTO who hopefully does not get in because that would mean this is off the turf.
Yep.
And we have a relatively lukewarm favorite, the 4, She Wants War. Let's see where we're going here. I am going 1, 3, 4. Ryan is finally taking one of the favorites in this one, but I'm assuming we'll have to see if it's a super strong opinion. Ryan is going 4, 6, 1. So let's go to you first. The number 4, She Wants War. Wesley Ward, Johnny V. What do you like about this one? Because I had a couple questions about this one, which is why I bumped her sort of down to the 3rd spot.
I have some questions, but they were answered with the jockey booking. I think when Wesley turns to Johnny, I think that's, all systems go. Johnny knows how to ride these Wesley Ward horses. I mean, there's no question about it. Joel, you can question. Walter Rodriguez, Geraldo Corrales, all of those guys, they normally know what to do. Johnny V knows exactly what to do. You get this horse to the lead at all costs. You make sure through the first quarter, he's not looking another horse in the eye, and after that, it's over. So that's kind of what I'm playing into here. This is, I can't say a really strong opinion, but a relatively strong opinion. Last time out, I just you were wide, you were dueling. I didn't like the ride. This time coming back, you drew very nicely towards the middle of the field. Yes, there's outside speed, but this horse is the quickest to the first quarter. I think that's going to prove true here. And I think there's some others that the jockeys might be a little more content just sitting from off the pace. Instead of trying to press this horse that they know is going to go to the front. Mainly the 6, who is my second choice in Girls Rock, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I think She Wants War goes to the front, and I know Johnny, and I know he's going to ride this horse like every other, like he's Golden Pal, or she's Golden Pal. I guess I drink for that. But so that's kind of what I'm looking towards. I'm not going to single to end this pick 5 sequence, but this is going to be a strong win candidate for me.
And you talked about you like the double potentially.
Yes.
Was it into like the 4 and the 6? I don't think that was your best bet, right? So
no, it was not
spoiling anything there.
No. The double would be into the 1, who is a price that I really like, and your top pick. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it.
Oh, by the way, Steven, great show, guys. Love the dynamic duo. Only thing missing was a poop stick reference from Ryan. Why don't you give us a little update on what that means? I
forgot what I said. It was on Pacific Horse Players like last week. I think I said I used the shit end of the stick reference.
Okay, gotcha.
And I don't think Noah, being at his 18-year-old age, had ever heard that before.
On,
so shit end of the stick is what I said, and I guess it was new to Noah, new to Jackson, so they gave me a hard time.
Give you a hard time for that one. Okay, that makes some sense there. I've heard that, being the old person who's like, I could probably combine the 3 of your ages, and I'm almost getting that. So I've heard all the terms at this point. But so let's talk about the 1, Regalton, if I'm remembering the appropriate pronunciation. You have this one 3rd. I have this one on top. Again, I thought this was a field where there was questions about a lot of them. And when I look at this one, the first race, the buyer's not the greatest in the world. Time form maybe was a little bit better, though, but it was on the synth. Now we're getting on the turf. Just a couple basic things on the sire side. Zoostar, 23% wins turf sprints. The Dam Sire is a grade 1 winner turf sprinting. So we get that here. So 371 Tomlinson, if that's something that people care about. I know we reference it just so people know what it is and to look at it. I just look at it as a horse that maybe the debut wasn't that bad, and if it's more of a turf horse, then could just move forward off that. And if so, again, you're getting a horse at a decent price that could be getting on the surface that they really want to be on. And if you get that and you get that improvement, then hell, why not? Especially at this price. You have this one in 3rd. I assume you have some similar thoughts, at least.
Yes, very similar. I like horses coming in with a start. And I don't think that start was all that bad over the Gulfstream Park synthetic course. The main thing that attracted me here, George Weaver at Saratoga in turf sprints, 13 for 64. That's 20%.
Nice.
55% in the money for those who care. 293 ROI with an average payoff of $14.40. That has this horse written all over it. And I know I picked this horse in third just because I do really have a strong opinion that this horse is going to be won by, either the 4 or the 6. But I think the 1 deserves a huge shot. And honestly, the more I think about it, I might want to upgrade that horse into second over the 6 who we'll talk about. But either way, I like that your A's or your win contenders are 1, 3, 4, 6. And I picked this race 4, 6, 1, 3. That gives me a lot of confidence. I'm going to lock up with I can't really say lock up with 4 horses, but I'm going to use those 4 to end the pick 5. That feels right to me. And I'll probably put a win bet on the side on the number 1 as well, because George Weaver at Saratoga is just unconscious with the way that he wins with these turf sprinters.
Yeah, you're playing, and this is like a good tournament horse, probably, if you can get a nice price at it, if you're playing tournaments. Couple quick stats, then we'll move on and just hit a couple of the horses here. Weaver, I had him 2 for 30 synth to turf, but I agree with you, it's different. 32% win, 64% in the money, second-time starters in turf sprints in the past 3 years. We're getting the upgrade to Saez. I think Saez will be aggressive with this horse from there. And the last thing, the horse that lost to came out, was a next out winner with an 84 buyer. If you can get anywhere in that vicinity in this race, I think you're a winner. So not saying that this horse is going to improve to that, but I do think there's a lot to like here in a field that I don't think is the greatest in the world.
Yeah.
Let's hit the 6 real quick. We'll hit Girls Rock. This is, which I agree with that sentiment right there. But this is one that I wound up, I was in the same boat. It was a win contender, but it just sort of drifted the other way for me. Whit Beckman, 1 for 20 at Saratoga, just in case I forget. He just hasn't had the success here yet. Not saying he won't. I think he's a really great up-and-coming trainer, but I don't know. This one just left me a little bit colder than some of the others, but those 2 races on the turf, they're good enough to win this race, at least from like a figure and form standpoint. What do you think about this one? You obviously like this one more than I do.
Yeah, and honestly, the more that I think about it, I'd probably go 4, 1, 6, but it's too late to change it now. But the point on the 6 Girls Rock, this is just going to be a horse that's going to be sitting outside, and for whatever reason the 4 misses the break, this is kind of going to be that horse that's going to be forward, and it's going to be kind of sitting that outside stalking trip. You obviously get Irad Ortiz. 4 to 1 seems fair, although this horse is probably going to take a little bit of Irad money, maybe in that 7 to 2, 3 to 1 range, which I still think is pretty fair. But even so, Whitworth Beckham, not the strongest at Saratoga. I'm with you. He's not the best in terms of turf sprinters. But I think this one fits. I think this is going to be a race won by a horse with experience. That's the reason I couldn't pick the 3. That and the fact that, the Pratt and Chad money is going to be taking a lot of play. And Chad Brown is not that strong with first-time starters turf sprinting. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. It's kind of like when you see Todd Pletcher debut a turf sprinter. You think like, all right, that's clearly not their game. What's going on here? Yeah. Primarily that happens down at Gulfstream Park during their championship meet. So that's kind of why I ended up going with the 4, 6, and 1 as my top 3 picks. But the 3 is certainly a win contender because he might beat this field just based on the fact that there's not a whole lot in this field.
Yeah, it's a light field, and I think there's questions about all of them. You do get Irad here too, so you get a nice bit of a jockey upgrade. Yeah, where is the 3? My Divine Spirit again. Do I want to be? Do I want to have good opinions in the first 4 races and lose to a Chad Pratt horse? Not necessarily. So that's not the best logic in the world, but I look at it and go, God, I'd just be pissed. Anything that sometimes will get me pissed, that's sometimes enough. Real quick, the sire side, since this one hasn't run, 20% wins, 3-year-old and up, first-time starters. 22% wins, 3-year-olds overall, 21% turf sprints. So on the sire side, pretty good. The dam side, no runners, but the Grand Dam was a Group 3 winner in a turf sprint. So again, there is turf sprinting there, even though it's not necessarily maybe Chad's best game. At least the horse looks like it might be her best game.
Yeah.
But like you said here, Chad, 12% only first-time starters in turf sprints. So again, very low. You don't see a lot of low percentages for Chad when he's doing anything. So if you see that dip, you know it's not his strength. But again, I think the breeding of this horse leans turf sprint, and you have Pratt, and it's a field that I think is just beatable. So she's probably not a horse that I'm going to leave off my ticket. I don't think I had anybody else I wanted to hit. Is there anyone else you want to hit before we wrap this race up?
No, just last point on the 3 there is you nailed it. When Chad comes to Saratoga, you're 2 for 14. I mean, that's not great. That's 14%, but so it is a tick above, but 2 for 14 in the maiden special. I just don't love those numbers. For Chad, that you mentioned it, that's not something that's showing his strength as a trainer. But again, the breeding certainly screams turf sprint. And he has had a couple of turf sprinters that are decent and that are able to hold their own versus, some allowance company, maybe even a little bit of stakes company here and there. So I do want to respect this one, and this one is going to be on my tickets.
But it is tough because it's going to take money just because of the connections. And that hurts. That hurts a little bit because if you don't love the horse, but you feel like there's a shot, then all right, let's get to real quick. We'll get to our best bets. You have one. So Ryan's best bet is in the 8th. A double, 2-7, 2-5, and tell us who that is. What do you have here?
So that's starting off in the Grade 2 Bowling Green. I'm going to use El Razine, the horse we talked about, and I am going to use the favorite in Farbridge into a double, and I'll Dutch these going into obviously because one is going to be a very heavy favorite, but they're both going to go into the Gilded Kraken, 12-1 on the morning line. We talked about this one, Jose Ortiz and Joe Sharp. Teaming up. This one likes to be forward in a race where I don't think there's a whole lot of pace. So I want to take a bit of a shot. I asked you prior to the show if we were doing pick 5 tickets, which you can find through our power picks if you go ahead and subscribe to those. But I'm happy I didn't have to throw together a pick 5 ticket because I would have been over budget for sure. This is going to be one hell of a sequence to try and handicap. I'm trying to beat a whole lot of favorites, so I got to find one area to narrow down. It's probably going to be this first leg, and I'll probably just single the 2 El Razine in those horizontals. And then just, if I miss, I'll play a pick 4, or maybe I'll just play some win bets on the side or something like that. But very difficult sequence, but I like that double to start things off into Gilded Kraken, who is my top long shot and top play of the sequence.
I like it. And actually, you'll see here, my best bets in the 8th, in that same 8th race, I'm just going with a Dutch Exacta with the 2 El Razine with the 7 Farbridge. So we're on sort of a similar wavelength there. And then I'm going with the double as well, the 2 and the 7 El Razine, but I'm going into the 3 Taraj, who we talked about, who was the foreign invader for Bill Mott. And then the 10, actually, Common Defense, which is the one we talked about, the McPeak horse who was on the Derby Trail and is now trying turf for the first time. So I think you and I are in the same boat. We like the 2 and the 7, and we're trying to catch prices in that 9th race to round out the double. So, I mean, I like the fact that you and I, it always feels good when the other person on the show is actually on a similar enough wavelength. Let's hit, before we go, any real funny comments here. Well, here we go. Thank you, Katie. I'll always take the win. That's a lock.
There was a fun plunger debate going on in the chat after shit end of the stick, which Matt corrected is it should be short end of the stick, which that rings much more of a bell. But shit end of the stick, I think, is what I'm going to add to my my repertoire.
Hey, you're on enough podcasts where you could make it into the lexicon now. Enough people hear it. Then all of a sudden. Let's see, music to my ears. Not all sequences are meant to be played. If you don't have strong opinions, smart play. Same to UP. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't have to be a pick 5. I think we all love pick 5s though, so we wind up playing them anyway. Maybe you don't have to blow a bunch of money on it. You just play one with your opinions and see if you can get lucky. All right, I think that wraps it up, at least from that perspective. What are your thoughts real quick? I mean, you talk a lot, unfortunately for you, for Saratoga fans, you talk a lot normally about West Coast. You did have Pacific Horse players, though, this week who talked about, you guys did today's card, correct? Am I
they did. I was unable to make it.
Yes, it was Jack
I missed
and Patrick.
Yes. So they did talk about today's card. I sent all the boys my top picks for the day, and I had the best day out of all of them. So maybe I should have been on the show. Next time I'll clear my schedule. But yeah, no, they had a good show. They covered today's card. They gave out a lot of good opinions. Noah, I want to give it up to him. He gave out his first winner that paid over $10 in like 8 months.
Unbelievable, right?
Which is just astounding. So I'm really proud of him. He's made long strides. And then that's all gonna, come to a close when he bets Farbridge into She Feels Pretty on Saturday. So it'll all come crashing down, but that's all right. But no, they had an excellent show. Betting and Boozing had a great show last night.
Check that out. That's for tomorrow's card. I know it's last minute, but the Betting and Boozing guys covered tomorrow's card, so you're covered there. Me and Ryan just covered Saturday's card. You're covered there. And then again, check out Saratoga today, Saturday morning, to cover the early pick 5 on Saturday. I don't actually know who's on that show. It doesn't really matter. It's our people, so they're going to be high quality. And then Sunday, myself and Chris Walsh. God, his name is
I'm on with you too on Sunday.
Oh, you're on Sunday? Oh, did I know
am.
that? I know you said that earlier.
So.
I didn't realize you were on. Okay. If you want to be on, more the merrier. Then the less
I got nothing going on at 7:45 in the morning on a Sunday. So yeah, why not?
Well, I'll send you the little production meeting in the middle of the show. I'll send you the link, or you could see the link there. But real last thing, just in terms of Saratoga overall, is it a meet that you generally get excited for? To me, I'm not a meet guy, so I don't get excited about the meets. I get excited about more individual days than meets. But is this one that you're pumped for and you're excited to play as much as possible?
This is the second highlight of my year in terms of meets. Number one is obviously my place of employment at Del Mar. I love Del Mar.
Yeah, you have to say that, right? If you want to keep getting
even if I even if they didn't employ me, it's Del Mar. Getting out there is fantastic. I was lucky enough to get out to Saratoga for the first time for Belmont Stakes weekend. That place is incredible. Del Mar's Del Mar. I mean, there's nothing that beats watching horses come down the stretch, and you look to your left and it's the beach. You look to your right and you can see, the mountains and the hills and everything. But more importantly, you look right in front of you and you see your winner at whatever price
that's nice.
You pick. It's a wonderful racetrack. It's a wonderful place to be, and I'm happy it's only a 20-minute drive. So this is my favorite time of the year. I would even say it beats Breeders' Cup. You have Saratoga and Del Mar. You have an entire summer where it's just nonstop. Fantastic horses, action, left, right, and center. And then, it's high quality shows because you have, 60 horse fields for those pick 5s to talk about, and you have plenty to dive into. So it's always the best time of year.
No, that's a great way to end it off. And I agree with you. I mean, it's nice when you have two of your favorite tracks going at the same time. It's maybe a little strain on the wallet, potentially, depending on how the days are going. But hopefully there's a lot more winners than losers, so you don't have to worry about that. Last thing, like you said, everybody join us this weekend. We have 2 Saratoga todays, and we have Weekend Warriors. So check those out. Go to our YouTube channel. You'll find those there. Again, rate, subscribe, review, do all that stuff. Hit the notification bell. Go ahead, Ryan. You got one
real
more
quick.
thing?
I have one more promo. One is for HHH. One is for my personal. I'll start with the personal one. Next Wednesday, myself, Jackson Muniz, will be joined by Matt Dinnerman as we're going to preview the Haskell Day Late Pick 5, which is going to be fun. But above that, or equal to that, I'll say, because they're both friends of mine. Frank Scatoni is going to join Pacific Horse Players with myself, Noah Maher, Jackson Muniz, that usual cast of characters, and we're going to go through opening day at Del Mar. So obviously very excited about that. Frank Scatoni, good friend. Just saw him yesterday at the media party. Excited to see not Matt Dinnerman because he's busy calling races, but Matt's dad out at Del Mar. He's a buddy of mine now.
Nice.
And it's crazy what a world this is, but it's a ton of fun. And I can't wait to have both of those A+ talents on our shows as we go forward.
That's awesome. And your Haskell preview is on the Gallop Out.
It'll be on the Gallop Out and through ABR.
Okay, so everybody go right now. Subscribe to HHH. Subscribe to ABR and the Gallop Out, and you'll see all these shows, and you'll be up on everything. And we'll be covering the Haskell on our next Thursday show as well. But to wrap it all up, for myself, Pete Visco, for my co-host, thank you for joining me while Howard is up in Saratoga and Paul's gallivanting all over with the Dormans. Again, I'm your host, Pete Visco, episode 418 of Picks and Ponies. And as Howard likes to always end these, crush your bets. Opening weekend of the summer meet at Saratoga. Take care, everybody. See ya.
habits. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.